So guys, there are 9 members of the 400 who are under 40, and 7 of those guys are in technology and social media. 2 of those guys are in finance and hedge fund. Tell me about the youngest guys, Steve.
Well, the 2 youngest guys are actually college friends at Harvard, Dustin Moskovitz and Mark Zuckerberg, both of Facebook. Both born in May 1984, so that makes everyone feel very old and very poor. But they are the 2 youngest, and Mark Zuckerberg is now one of the top 20 richest people in America.
And Dustin is actually 8 days younger than Zuckerberg, so he gets bragging rights as America's youngest billionaire.
What I loved about Dustin was when our colleague Victoria Barrett went up to Washington to interview Bill Gates and Dustin together, she flew back on the same flight to San Francisco with Dustin. He was flying in coach, as was she.
I think that's kind of a pattern, though. Like Mark Zuckerberg just bought a house out in Silicon Valley, and he's got, billions and billions of dollars, and he bought this sort of relatively modest $7 million home, just sort of on a relatively street. And he also relatively to some of these.
Well,
people
in Palo
that we
Alto,
cover.
that doesn't go very far. But
Well,
but what about Sean Parker? Because he's one of the youngest too. Does he live kind of a modest lifestyle?
Sean is a little bit more, he likes the finer things.
Does he?
But
Like
not
what?
material. He's an experienced guy, so he loves to obsess about food. He's a big time foodie. He loves clothes, his suits are perfect and that kind of stuff.
Did I hear he had a tailor?
He had a tailor. We had a photo shoot, and he had his tailor there just to make sure everything was lined up and all set, and in case a button popped
Very
off.
nice.
You said that he loves food. I love the story you told me about the sushi night.
So we invited him out for dinner. He wanted to go for sushi. So before we went, he called 5 different restaurants to see which chef was cutting that night. And then with that intelligence, he decided to go to Sushi on 44th Street. And we went there and sat at the chef's table and ate sushi all night.
Could you tell that the sushi was cut in the most delicious manner you've ever had?
Didn't really, well, it was wasted on me. But he was saying that the best sushi cuts are trapezoidal, and so he likes he needs to find places that are trapezoidal. Also, the rice density and how they pack the rice is very important too.
But can we talk about food and another young billionaire, Mark Zuckerberg? Can you please tell me what is going on with his latest decision to kill his own meat?
Well, poor Zuckerberg. I mean, everyone's like, oh, he's so young, he's so rich, but at the meantime, he's like the it boy of Silicon Valley. So everything he does, whether he's having dinner with Obama or whether he is, giving money to Newark, or in this case, killing his own food. Apparently, every year he has like this goal for the year. And one year was like the year to get serious, so he wore a tie with every outfit, even though it was like jeans and a button down. He wore a tie. This year, he's only eating the meat that he kills. So I think he's killed, I'm not sure, I think a chicken and a goat.
What about Eduardo Saverin, another Facebook alumnus?
So yeah, he was the one who anyone who's seen the movie Social Network knows was the finance guy in the early days of Facebook and kind of falling out. And he's derives most of his net worth from Facebook. Actually, pretty much all his net worth from Facebook.
He also lives the high life. He was on Page 6 recently, out in Saint-Tropez partying at all the hot night spots out there with his entourage.
Yeah, he actually, I think, brought his whole entourage, paid for them to be there, and was there for a period of time. The hotel confirmed it. The Severance people won't confirm anything about him these days.
What about the Google guys getting away from Facebook a little bit?
They seem so old these days.
Well, I was just going to say, it's amazing that they're still on our youngest list. If you think back to how old Google is now, they're only 38, these guys. They're now worth $16.7 billion each. But I think right now they're kind of gunning for their rivals, because if you think about it, like, Facebook and Groupon, all these sort of social media startups are sort of taking over some of their market share. So the stuff they've launched recently, like Google Plus, I don't know if any of you guys use it, but that's their kind of social media offshoot.
I just think what's really interesting is how thoughtful these guys are at such a young age. They've become billionaires in their 20s, but pretty much every single one is thinking about what role they should be having for entrepreneurs and young people, and just really, in the world, whether they're joining on to the Gates Buffett Giving Pledge, starting their own foundations, thinking about their portrayal in the media. This is definitely a thoughtful group.